Okay, whenever you're ready.
Self-pity is our worst enemy. If we yield to it, we can never do anything wise in this world. Early in November, I visited Fisher-Titus's Cancer Research Center. When I visited Fisher-Titus's Cancer Research Center, I went and observed patients getting their chemotherapy that day. Out of all the patients that were there, one lady by the name of Joyce stood out to me. When I first met her, we said our hellos, and she just went off from there. She didn't cry or complain. She talked about her sons. When I first met her, she had a port on her chest, and she was getting her blood taken out of the port because it was the easiest way, and it was going to be checked because if her blood cell levels were too low, she couldn't get chemo that day. So when she was getting it checked, I didn't see her wince once. I didn't see her flinch. I didn't see her complain. I enjoyed watching her and talking to her because she showed me how strong she was. She talked about her sons and where they lived. She talked about her husband and how supportive he has been. She just talked about everything that motivated her. In my eyes, this was her way of coping. Talking about the things that motivated her and about her family was her way of showing that this cancer was to be defeated. Hi, my name is Jessica Delara, and for my senior project topic, I have chosen lung cancer treatments and their side effects. I specifically chose lung cancer because both my grandparents on my mom's side passed away from lung cancer. My grandfather passed away when I was 7, and my grandmother passed away when I was 13. The information I received came mostly from internet sites such as WMD.org and CancerCare.org. I also received information from my mentor, Melissa Smith. She is an RN and a BSN at Fisher-Titus's Cancer Center. She's the head oncology nurse there at that center. I also gathered information through personal memories from my grandparents of what I can remember of them and from my mom. My mom would tell me great stories of her parents. This project related to me in a personal way. It made me realize the true definition of courage. It showed me how strong people can actually be when there's obstacles in their way. Lung cancer patients have to gather enough energy and bravery for their treatments, such as chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. There are side effects to every one of the treatments, but there are ways to hide certain side effects to make you feel more comfortable. I'd like to tell you about something that interested me when I visited the Cancer Center. While Joyce was waiting to get her blood back to see if she could receive chemotherapy, I got to watch the pharmacy mix up the chemo. And when I did, I thought it was really cool, so I hope you guys think it's really cool too. When I went back to the pharmacy, the guy that was showing me around, he took the chemotherapy drug. It was in a little bottle, something that you would insert a syringe in to pick up the fluids, and he would put it in one, it's almost like a cabinet, and it has a door, and he put it in one, and then he put an IV bag in another one right beside it. And he put his arms up to about his shoulders, all the way in these kind of like gloves, sort of like, and he would take the vials of chemo through another passageway. That way it wasn't contaminated with any kind of diseases or anything like that. And he would insert a syringe into it and put it into the IV bag, but then he would shake it. He said this was to make sure everything had dissolved, because if it hadn't dissolved, then people can get really sick from it. Although Joyce couldn't receive chemotherapy that day, I thought it was still really amazing to be able to watch that. Being 18 and I never thought I'd be able to watch it, but it was really amazing. Chemotherapy is the only treatment where medicines have to be mixed up by a pharmacy. The chemo is just one of the treatments. You can also receive radiation and surgery. These 3 treatments together can be mixed with one another for a greater benefit in the long run, if your doctor prescribes it for you. Although these 3 treatments are different, there's one major goal. It is to treat and cure the patient of cancer. Surgery. Surgery is operation where a surgeon will make an incision, and this is to help repair or remove part of the body to diagnose or treat the cancer. The surgeon can take out a piece of tissue from inside of your body and see if you have any cancer with it. If you do, then he will take some of the healthy tissue along with it just in case it were to spread. Chemotherapy, when more than half of all the patients that are diagnosed with any type of cancer will receive chemotherapy. It can be given through a vein, like when you get blood work, or through the top of your hand like a regular IV, or orally as a pill. This is known as a systemic treatment because it can get rid of cancer cells at places that are quite a distance away from the original cancer location. Where it started, it could pass, and then the surgeon can go, not surgeon, the chemo, will go, and it'll go in places around it to make sure it does not spread. Radiation. Radiation uses beams of very, very intense energy to kill the cancer cells. It's almost like when you're outside in the sun and it's the UV rays hitting your skin. It's more intense than that. But radiation uses these beams to destroy the material that grows and divides cells. And because cancer comes from when your cells multiply very, very fast, radiation is used to destroy that material. There are side effects to all the treatments. Although all the treatments can potentially save your life, the side effects can be excruciating and sometimes intolerable. I've read on online interviews that some patients will even say sometimes the side effects can be worse than the cancer itself. It just bears you down. But looking at the glass half full, there are ways for patients to easily cope. This allows them to be more confident in how they present themselves to their peers or to everyday life when they go to the mall, when they go to school if they're a child. Nausea is one of the side effects that you can receive. When you get nausea, you can be given anti-nausea medications. And studies actually show that having a positive attitude when you go into your treatment can make for a positive after your treatment. It can prevent your nausea. But if you have a negative, it's vice versa. You go in with a negative attitude, then more than likely you're going to have some nausea because you have implanted it in your mind that you're going to get sick. Also, cancer patients can avoid greasy, fried foods. This helps with the stomach settling. Fatigue is another problem. This is a problem for at least 70% of the patients that are diagnosed with cancer. To get rid of fatigue, they want to make sure that the cancer patient maintains a proper diet from your food pyramid, all your fruits and vegetables, your protein. Cancer patients also want to exercise daily, and if they're up walking around for quite a bit a day, if they feel tired, they are to sit down and rest because it could be harmful to themselves if they keep pushing on. Hair loss. This is very terrifying for some cancer patients. When people get diagnosed with cancer, one of their first thoughts is, I'm going to lose my hair. I remember when my grandfather was diagnosed with cancer, even though I was 7, me and my grandpa were really, really close. And he had, I kid you not, it was like Elvis-looking hair. If you look at pictures of Elvis and my grandpa, he had the hair. And when I think of my grandpa, I think of his hair. And it was a weird thought thinking, my grandpa is going to be bald. It was a very weird thought. Until I realized how scared he was. He didn't want to go through any of that. Although patients could lose their hair, it will grow back somewhere in between 3 to 10 months after their last treatment. To feel more confident in how you present yourselves, the patients can wear scarves, wigs, or hats. If you look at a positive note, my friend, Haley Bergman, when she was diagnosed with cancer, she would wear scarves and hats, but she wouldn't not call them scarves and hats. She would call them battle helmets. And I have this scarf here. She would take something like this and wrap it around her head and then tie it in the back, and she would call it her battle helmet. She never called it a scarf. And this was, to me, showing me that she was going to beat this. Even though she ended up succumbing to the cancer, this was her way of showing that I'm going to do whatever I can to beat this. For my product, I created a video. Although I shouldn't say we created a video. I found willing volunteers who would send me pictures of their loved ones who either have died from cancer or who have been diagnosed with cancer somewhere in their life or are battling it right now. I have pictures from my friend Courtney Sloan, Jessica Garcia, Angie Tester, and then my grandparents, and then Hannah Lowry's family. My journey with this class has had its very many up and downs. At first, I wanted to quit and take my whole 3-inch senior class binder over there and burn it. I really wanted to burn it. I hated this class. But as the year progressed and we started going more in depth of what was going to happen, what we had to do, I started to like it. I started to want to know different questions. I wanted to push myself to ask myself higher level questions. I learned throughout this class how to be patient. I learned not to overwhelm myself, and I learned to listen to people when they were trying to tell me stories. I also learned to expect the unexpected. I had many roadblocks trying to write my paper, trying to find the right word or the right phrase to go in this so I could actually pass. I'm excited to present my product to you all, but let me ask you one thing. Have you told someone you love them lately? Have you told someone how you feel about them? There are many ways to say I love you, but how often do you actually tell someone how you feel? How often do you tell the people that mean most to you, that you actually love them? This project started out as a way for me to understand what my grandparents went through, but as the year progressed, ironically, I was tested for cancer because my white blood cell level and my red did not match up. I had so many needles in my arms, I feel like a pincushion. Now I realize I tell my family I love them a lot more than I did. And I look back and I realize I wish I would have told my grandma and my grandpa that I love them as much as I do. I realize now my grandparents masked their pain out of love. They didn't do it because they didn't want anybody to know what they were going through. They masked it because they loved us. As you leave here today, walk slowly to your car. Take in the snow. What if you never see snow anymore? Take in sights that you've never seen before. Look at trees. They could still have leaves on them. But most importantly, when you leave here, go home and tell someone that you love them, because you never know when it could be your last chance. I'm excited to show you my video, and I hope you like it. Thank you.